Hello, today we are going to show the changing of the old style cell phone charging cables to our new fancy charging pads. To start, you will need 3 tools. This, the security bit, a number 2 Phillips, and a pair of side cutters. So with the security bit, the unit will be mounted on the wall. To access the unit, simply need to just unscrew these screws. After a few turns, they come right out. So once the screws are removed, this will lift up and slide right off the wall. Take your unit, find a nice flat surface, and place it face down. Also make sure not to lose your screws, so put those aside. Once you have it face down, Phillips number 2. There are 2 screws right here. This is what holds the original plate in place. Simply undo these 2 screws. They might be a little tight. Make sure to keep the screws. So now that the screws are removed, this plate is now loose, but as you can see, there are several cables tied to it with cable ties with the side cutters, being careful not to cut any of the cables. Remove the cable ties. Now that that has been done, this should simply slide out. So the old plate has been removed. Now you have an excess of cables. Each of these cables we're going to remove. These are simply just slipped in here. Once those are removed, they all go to this charging hub here, but you should trace them all because there are a few other cables there that operate the sound of the machine that we do not want to remove. So this one, for example, is what is attached to the audio. So we do not want to remove these 2, but we want to remove every other one. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. That is our cables with the extenders. Set those aside. We will no longer need those. Now we will take our new plate. This one will look a little different than what you have. The one that you have will not have holes here, but other than that, it will be virtually the same. Before you install, make sure that these 3 cables are firmly installed into the pads. So now, you just have to lift the cables and slip this into place. Making sure you're not pinching any of the cables down when you do this. Should work fairly easy. And make sure the holes line up. At this point, retrieve your screws. Simply refasten the tray. Now that the tray is refastened, find your 3 cables, your 3 USBs. And we're going to move everything and neatly slide under it so it goes directly to the charging pad. When you first got the tray, I forgot to mention it will be bound by twist ties. Keep those because we can reuse those to keep everything nice and neat. So there's 2 pre-drilled holes on each side. And we'll just bind them together. Nothing too tight. So what I've done is I put this one just 2 on this side, and then we'll bind all these together. Be careful that they still will reach the charging hub unit, because that is where we have to connect them to. Again, just quickly neaten it up a bit, but don't make it too tight. It's not necessary. Just hold them out of the way. So now everything is kind of cleaned up for the most part. We will have 3 USBs. Then simply all you have to do, and I would start from the immediate left over to the right. In some cases, if it's too tight, you might have to remove this cable tie. I like to keep it there if I can. And make sure they're firmly seated as you enter them. And also, while you're at it, make sure this guy is inserted, because that is your audio, as I mentioned earlier. So that is it. We'll clear up our space. So just to make sure before we lift this up, everything, you might as well, since you have it down, make sure everything is properly connected still and firmly seated. Especially, this is the power. So if this guy's not 100% in, it will not power on. And then simply lift it up, bring it back to the wall, put it on the mount, and plug in the cable underneath. And once that has been done and it's on the wall, take your sticker, which should have been provided, and put it on straight and centered as possible without covering up any of the pads. So now the unit has been placed back on the wall. Check to make sure the charging pads are still working by placing the phone on any of the 3, and it will illuminate and pulsate when it's working. And we'll do that with any of the 3. The green means the phone has been removed. That's it.